Shane Gisbergen has completed his first full-time NASCAR Cup Series start with Trackhouse Racing and finishes in a very impressive 9th place. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. As I just said a second ago, Shane Gisbergen has completed his first ever full-time NASCAR Cup Series start with Trackhouse Racing and finishes inside the top 10 in 9th place. At the start of the event, Shane Gisbergen would have to go through the heat races through heat number 2 or heat number 3 and would start about 3rd or 4th position in the heat. He would be very quietly up front and started catching the guys in front of him and would come off the corner in heat number 3 after not really having a lot of contact with drivers like Bubba Walls and Denny Hamlin in front of him, and would come off the corner and finish in 3rd or 4th position. This would lock him into the main event. He looked really impressive in the practice sessions and was starting to charge his way up to the front in practice, especially on the long runs. So he was able to lock his way in and would start in 10th position in the main event. At the start of the race, SVG looked really good. He was keeping up with his teammates Ross Chastain and the guys in front of him, and kept up with guys also in the front like Alex Bowman and those guys right up in the front of the field at the beginning, and would stay in that 9th to 10th range most of the early portion of the event. He would fade back a little bit as the run progressed and went on. It would fade back to around 11th or 12th position in the middle of the event. In the middle portion of the race, after the first half had concluded, he would fall back a little bit. It seemed like this car on the long run just was not there tonight, unfortunately. But on the short run, that number 88 car looked really good. And he started bumping guys in front of him, like Bubba Walls, like Chris Buescher at the end of the event. Guys in the middle of the pack, like Chase Briscoe, he got into him a little bit. And then he would be up around 9th or 10th position at the end of the first half of the race. He would then on the restart do a really solid job, would get up inside the top 10 once again around that 9th to 10th place, and would stay up there through a majority of the event. On the long run, he would start fading back a little bit, and there was a lot of chaos that happened after the first half. He would get into Chase Briscoe, end up spinning him out, unfortunately, and after Kyle Larson got spun by Austin Cindric, there would be a little collateral damage after the incident with Chase Briscoe, and then he would continue on. And then his car started coming a little bit on the next restart, which would be one of the final restarts of the event. He would get a little bit of benefit after Brad Keselowski got turned by Bubba Walls, and a couple of people behind him got clobbered and got a little bit of damage. Guys like not Bubba Walls, Alex Bowman, I believe other guys like Chase Briscoe got involved in that wreck, and Carson Osberg got caught up in the wreck. And then on the final run of the race, Shane Gisbergen started moving his way back up to the front and would stay inside the top 10. For a little bit there on the final 80-lap run, Shane was starting to fade back just a little bit, but then at the end of the run, that number 88 car really started digging in. He was catching the guys in front of him. He was losing a little bit of ground to Ryan Preece, but then he started running down the guys in front of him. He was catching Tyler Reddick. He was catching Chris Buescher. He was even catching his teammate, Ross Chastain. The Trackhouse cars were really strong on the long runs of these events, and Shane started making a ton of ground in front of him. He would catch Chris Buescher in front of him near the end and catch Tyler Reddick. And actually, with a couple laps to go in the race, he would make the run on Chris Buescher and get around him and get by him and up to 9th. He'd run out of time to get up to around 8th or 7th position. And then Chase Elliott, of course, would come off the final corner and pick up the win at the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. And Shane Gisbergen would come off the corner and finish in 9th position. Now, going into the weekend, they were using the tire from Martinsville. And I go back to that Martinsville race that Shane Gisbergen ran last year, and he finished in 12th position, finished inside the top 15. He looked really good on the long run there. And that seemed to be the case in tonight's race. Shane Gisbergen in his first start at a quarter-mile track, which I don't think SVG has really ever ran any quarter-mile tracks in his NASCAR career. If you would have told me coming into this weekend that Shane Gisbergen would not only run inside the top 10, but maintain a top 10 position and finish in 9th in his first full-time NASCAR Cup start. Now, granted, this wasn't a points-paying event, but the finish in 9th position, extremely impressive for Shane. You think about this. There's a lot of people saying this year that Shane Gisbergen is going to be really strong on the road courses and really strong on probably the super speedways, but I think you got to look at short tracks too. I go to that Martinsville race that's coming up really soon. I think that Shane is going to be super fast and really competitive at Martinsville. He was very competitive last year at the track, and I do think he will be a super big threat and contender at Martinsville for at least probably a top 10 finish. And he's going to be in a better car. Yes, Trackhouse Racing did prepare the cars for him last year when he drove for Colleague Racing at number 16, but I think he did a really good job tonight. He got a little bit of contact and a little bit of beating and banging, but I think overall SVG did a very good job tonight. He beat people like Kyle Busch, one of the best drivers in NASCAR Cup history. He beat people like Kyle Larson, one of the best drivers and probably arguably the most talented driver in the NASCAR Cup Series currently at the moment. He beat guys like Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman and William Byron and Brad Keselowski. Some of the guys that are really good. Now, he got beat by guys like Bubba Lawson, Chase Elliott, and Denny Hamlin, who are really good in the field. But I think that overall, all things considered, Shane Van Gisbergen did a very, very good job tonight. And now he's got to fully focus on the remainder of the season. His next race is going to be the duels at Daytona. He's going to try to qualify inside that top 10 and try to find his way on the front row. If he can find a way on the front row for the Daytona 500, that would be extremely impressive. And I think he will have a good chance and opportunity to definitely do that this year, because we know that the Trackhouse cars, they show some decent speed, and they're going to have Hendrick engines. And we know that SVG qualified pretty well with the Kaulig racing cars at Daytona last year, and also the other super speedway races as well. And he actually had a pretty impressive, decent qualifying run at Talladega Super Speedway. And then you go to the Daytona 500. I know his luck at Daytona, at least on the Cup side, has not been good. He had that engine failure at the end of the event, but I think that he has a really good opportunity to win. I think the Trackhouse cars have been really strong in the super speedway races the last couple of years, and I really think that SVG is going to be a pretty big threat. And I think you look at the rest of the schedule coming up. He's got COTA in a couple weeks. He's going to be one of the favorites to win at COTA. He's got Chicago in July. He's got a lot of really good opportunities to definitely go to victory lane in 2025. And I think that this is going to be a really surprisingly good season for the number 88 team. I get it's just a clash. I get it's just the first race behind the wheel of that car. But I do think that Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be a guy to watch out for throughout the year and the season. And I look for the 88 team to bring some really good cars throughout the year. Steven Duran is a very underrated crew chief. He got some really good cars for Zane Smith, who was Zane Smith's crew chief, of course, last year. I really think that SVG is going to be in the fight for the playoffs throughout the year. And I think it's not just going to be the road courses that he is going to be really strong at throughout 2025, but I look for him to be really strong on other types of tracks throughout 2025. Again, he did a very strong job tonight, was really, really impressive, and now the focus is through the rest of 2025. It's going to be a learning year for him. He's going to have a lot of learning to do this year, and I think there's definitely going to be some growth that he's going to have to go through throughout 2025, and he's going to be going up against his teammates like Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez throughout the season. But at the end of the day, I really do like the speed that Shane showed tonight. He did a very, very good job, was super, super impressive, super, super quick. And I think all things considered, he did a really good job tonight. I think that running inside the top 10 tonight, being up there, showing some speed, not really falling outside the top 10. He ran inside that top 12 most of the night. That's the most important thing. He qualified last year, not that great. If he can qualify very well, I could see him being a contender for some really strong runs this upcoming year. So we'll see how he does throughout the remainder of 2025. But nonetheless, I was very impressed with the speed that he showed throughout 2025, at least at this event, and I think he will be a big threat for some of those other races. But great run nonetheless for Shane to finish inside the top 10 in 9th place. So that is going to be it for the Shane Van Gisbergen video from Bowman Gray Stadium. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Listeners below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. How would you rate Shane Van Gisbergen's performance from the race at Bowman Gray? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, I've not got one, but 2 NASCAR news videos dropping on the channel. Then on Tuesday, I'm probably going to have an updated look at the Daytona 500 Intros, taking a look at that tomorrow. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we'll have another NASCAR news video most likely dropping on the channel. Thursday, I'll have another special video dropping on the channel. We've got some other content dropping this week. On my second channel, I'm going to be doing my predictions for the Super Bowl. We'll be talking about that this week. And I've got content on people like Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Carson Quaffle, Junior Motorsports, Chandler Smith, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, all that good stuff, Frankie Muniz, Cletus McFarland, other big names like Ryan Preece as well, Todd Gillen. You'll see all that on the channel as we get close to the start of the year and season. I'm excited to see the season kick off finally, and we're a couple weeks away from the Daytona 500, which I think is going to be really exciting this year. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.